Hi, everyone. We're excited to be here today with Bridget Erdman. She's the author of Titus, Sound Doctrine, and Faith. Hi, how are you, Bridget?
I'm doing good.
Good. Let's kick it off. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am a wife and mother of three. We live with my grandma, who the book is dedicated to. Help take care of her. She is 97. And we are going to be taking over her farm and starting the homesteading life and just figuring out where God's going to lead us with this farm as a ministry.
That's really exciting. Let's get into the book. Titus, Sound Doctrine, and Faith. What's it about?
Um, well, I decided about 5 years ago that I was going to do a just like a self Bible study, and I felt called to look into the book of Titus, and I was reading it over and over, and found how Titus was just being a missionary in this island of exiles. And I wanted to find out more about it. So I started looking into different Bible studies that were available over the book of Titus. And I actually didn't really find very many. And I was like, well, it's only a short chapter. There's got to be something. And I started doing some journaling, and God was like, no, there's none out there really, because I need you to do that. And I was like, oh, I don't think so. I think you got the wrong person. And became very clear that it was going to be my duty to find different things about Titus and Paul, and how he just brought him to this island and needed to restructure everything. And as I learned more about Titus and who he was, I recognized that I too was a Titus. I'm very much an encourager and a comforter, and that kind of island would just terrify me. And Paul writes the book of Titus, and he says in Titus 1:5, the reason I left you in Crete was that you might straighten out what was left unfinished and appoint elders in every town as I directed you. And that just, I help a lot with different ministries and leading, and I felt that. But it was also just the kind of people that you run into can be so cruel and scary. But Titus was for it, and he did what Paul asked him to do. Which is what Jesus asks us all to do, is to go out and spread the gospel here, there, and everywhere. And Titus was able to use Paul, who was this man who was murdering Christians, and then had this huge transformation with Jesus, and now goes out and spreads the gospel for him. So it was just a really exciting time to dive into just a short chapter of 3 chapters of Titus and find out what God wanted me to learn and then to share with others. And so I ended up pulling 6 sessions out of it to just elaborate on everything that God wants us to know in the book of Titus.
That's awesome. What would you say was the process like for you? Because this is something new for you. At first, you were like, no, thank you. So what was that like, actually putting pen to paper and getting it done?
It was definitely a God thing, because I just had a journal at home that I just started writing in and taking notes that came to mind as I was reading through the book itself. And then at one church, I found a book about Paul and his background. At another church, I found a theological book about Paul and his background in ministry. And so I just started collecting all these different books about Paul, and how he was transformed, and where he was when he was writing to his different apostles. And it was definitely intimidating and such an eye-opener, because that's stuff that doesn't really get taught a lot in churches and in Bible studies. And so it was exciting, and it was a little terrifying to be given this task. But I did lead a women's Bible study at the church, and I was able to get the ladies to go through the book before I got it published, and it was exciting to see um, them just have these aha moments of these ladies that I treasure so much as friends and longtime Christians. And Titus 2 talks about that, about how the older women are supposed to teach the younger women and so forth. And it was just neat to have that opportunity to teach to them, to allow us to go and teach to others in small groups.
What would you say is the thing you hope that is taken away from this the most? Like, what do you hope people get out of it?
Even if one person can be led closer to Jesus through this book, I'm not, I don't care how many read it, but if one person can turn their life to Jesus, that's all that matters. It's one more person that gets to meet God and treasure his love.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with me today. I look forward to catching up with you later and seeing how it's going. It sounds like you put your heart and soul into this book.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.